Welcome back to another episode of the Bear Trap on the Boomer Bust channel, a Bears podcast by a Bears fan. I'm your host, Terry, and today talking about, or recapping, I should say, our victory against the New York Giants going 2-0. Let me say this up top. We got a lot of new subscribers, which is cool. That's cool. But I remind y'all, this is not a cheerleader. This is not a cheerleader channel. This is not any of that. We're going to be honest and, factual about what's going on. That's why I spend the money I do, so we can get actual film and we're not just speculating or we're not just, talking out the side of our neck. All those people, a win is a win. This is probably not the channel for you. I don't believe that whatsoever. And trust me, any football coaches that I've ever met that had that mantra were not good coaches. That's not how I look at the game of football. A win is not a win. It's not about what you do, it's how you do it. Unless it's the Super Bowl. But other than that, it's very important, what happens in between, the white lines. So, yes, we're 2-0. And if you just look at that, you're like, okay, well, we're doing well. We obviously, if you're watching the games, barely skated by to become 2-0 twice. It came down to like last second plays. And I think the theme of our team is inconsistency. That's the theme of our quarterback, our offense, our defense is inconsistency. We have, a streak of good plays or drives, and then we got drives that aren't so great, and that put us right back in that situation. I think overall, as a team that knows how to win, once you're doing well early, you keep your foot on the gas, you put your foot on their throat. Not a lot of teams are good at that, and I mean, it's not just the us thing. Honestly, the only team I've seen in the last few years that is really good at that is the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick will really pump the gas early on and won't let up. Not a lot of teams are pretty consistent with that, but especially teams that aren't used to winning. And so, yes, we had that big season. Then we got put out in the first round by the Eagles on a missed kick. But that doesn't make us winners. And so I think we're still learning how to win. And with that is that idea that when you get up, you have to not be complacent, not just with the play calling, but also as a coach, you got to get the team to make sure they're locked in and that they're not being complacent. And as somebody that's been in that situation, it's very hard to do. Obviously harder with young kids than it is with grown men, but still hard to do. But that's the job of the coaching staff. You got to keep them locked in. And I think we lost focus, especially when Saquon got hurt. It was just like, okay, this team's not good. We can coast, and that's not really what it was. So as far as the offense today, I mean, I give them a B, I guess. I'm really torn between that and a B minus, but I'm gonna go with a B. I think we obviously did a lot better on third down, and if you were around for the last few years, one of the big stats that I talked about when Nagy came in was our third down conversions, and I talked about that last week. And this week we were a lot better with that. It's more better in the first half than the second half, but we were a lot better. And then I think one nice stat that I've never really looked at, but I like that they're showing it on the broadcast, is average yards to go on third down. I think our average was right around 5. Average on third down, we got 5 yards to go. And that's a really good indicator as well of how efficient you're being on your other downs. And so we were in short situations, but in the second half, we didn't convert as much as the first, but we were really, the only reason we got up to where we got with the lead was because of that first half, really keeping the ball to time of possession and obviously getting those scores. So that was nice, but then the second half, it just kind of fell off. And it was weird because there was a streak where we kind of wore the Giants down in the run game, especially when Dave Montgomery returned from injury, and they just looked tired on the interior. I was saying earlier, like Lawrence, Tomlinson, Leo, like they were giving our guards, especially more so in the pass game, they were giving our guards a lot of smoke. But in the run game, we were able to get some good movement, and then they toughened up. Then later in the second half, we started running pretty well again. And then eventually the Giants just locked down and was able to get the ball back. But, it was just up and down. That's really what it was, the whole offense, at least our play. But in the first half, I really enjoyed, like, our creativity and usage of weapons. And this is one thing I said, because I know a lot of people might think this, and I've always tell you, I don't know, I'm not in there. I said Bill Lazor won't matter that much because it all falls on Nagy. Nagy's an offensive coach. He calls the plays. And so it didn't matter what Bill Lazor, I think that's what I said, I don't remember. But it doesn't matter what Bill Lazor had in mind if Nagy wasn't going to accept it and execute it. Now, I don't know whose ideas are what and, all that. I don't know how that goes. But I do know at the end of the day, it stops with Nagy. And Nagy, to his credit, has been completely adaptive this year. Not to say that it's great. I don't think in the NFL you can out-scheme anybody the whole game. I think you can have a good game plan, but it comes down to execution at any level of football. So with that being said, though, I applaud Nagy for switching the scheme up. I mean, from the tape I watched last week and then watching this so far this week, we clearly aren't just running that same old stuff. We're getting Cordero involved creatively. We're getting Jimmy Graham involved creatively way more than we ever tried to do with Shaheen or anybody else, even Trey Burton, who's a receiving tight end. And so we're doing a lot. And I appreciate Nagy because it all stops with him. And so there's that. But even with that being said, we need some tackles, man. Massey, great catch for the first down, but Massey is not it. I know a lot, for whatever reason, people love to point out Leno. Massey's worse to me. And he is the cause of a lot of problematic plays. I do like how these new tight ends, not that we haven't tried to use tight ends like this before, but these tight ends have better ability in the pass game. Harris, who I believe was supposed to be a receiving tight end, is really blocking. Now, he's not dominant, but he goes after it, and he has good angles, at least on most of the blocks. And so the pass pro has been tremendously helped by our multiple tight ends. We could flex Jimmy Graham out, but we have Harris and Cole Kmet, so we do a lot with them. I think it's kind of obvious Cole Kmet's kind of lost in the passing game. Not that he's lost, but he's lost as a target so far. But as far as pass pro, it's really helped. And not only that, as the pass pro gets help from the tight ends, it sets up the opportunity for them to leak out late. And so you'll start seeing delayed releases and stuff like that really hit. But overall, the offensive line, I mean, it is what it is. Fetty's a big upgrade, huge upgrade. But at the end of the day, our tackles are not up to par. And against really good teams, that's going to be exposed. But shout out to them for starting to handle business as the game went on in the run. And it's interesting because it looks like 90% of the time we're running zone. And if you listen to this channel, I was screaming last year, like, we are not a power team. We're not a gap team. We're not moving people off the ball. Like, I know some of the announcements, they were talking about moving people off the ball. That's really with lateral movement, trying to get them to go left to right, and they weren't great at holding their ground because they're trying to cut over the top, and that's the movement we're looking for because that's our strength. Our strength is not going head to head and pushing somebody off the line, and so I like that we're utilizing zone almost exclusively. Now we throw in some counters here, power there, but for the most part, we're always running inside zone. And I think that's what the strength of our offensive line is going to be, even though they might not be great. Trubisky, like I said, he is what he's always been, inconsistent, man. I mean, there's sometimes he will force the ball, and you could tell, like, he's more trustworthy of some of these guys. Like, he's more trustworthy of Mooney. He's way more trustworthy of Jimmy Graham. And it's sad because, like, you could tell he's just kind of a follower. And his confidence has always been a big part of his play. But you would like a quarterback that comes out and says, hey, I'm going to make it happen for these receivers, rather than which receiver can make it happen for me, which is why he was forcing the ball to Allen Robinson so much in the previous seasons. But I said last year he started to trust A-Bomb a little more as he made plays, but he's got a good connection with Mooney. And so we're spreading the ball around. I said last year that's when we're best. We got a lot of weapons. Even before we got all these different new tight ends, I felt like we got a number of weapons where it's better that you can't hone in on Allen Robinson. It's better that you have a number of guys you could go to. And so we saw that kind of be a thing for us. But at the end of the day, you know, it's just some plays where there's accuracy or whether it's decision making where Trubisky didn't make them. But he made some good plays too. Like it's this weird 0 to 100 thing where people act like, again, you just good or bad. Like just because you call out certain things about Trubisky, that's not saying he has no good attributes. Like we know that on the move, he can do things a little better. He can be a little more creative. He can extend the play. That's kind of the style that a lot of quarterbacks have moved to. And he can do some of those things, absolutely. But, you know, you got to kind of set him up for success rather than him being able to do it for you. But I'm glad he made that touchdown play to Mooney. I mean, Mooney was big time on that catch. But Trubisky started to scramble, and I'm like, the pocket is open, bro. What are you doing? But eventually he settled down, and he threw the ball, so that was a big-time play. The other thing I'll say about Trubisky is he's not a runner. He's a scrambler like any of these, like Jay Cutler and any other of these quarterbacks that are throwers but can scramble sometimes when they need to get yards. He's not a runner. Like all these quarterback runs, it don't look nowhere near the same as any of these other quarterbacks. Like, look, Mahomes could scramble and pick up yards. Dak could pick up yards. They're not runners, though. And so I know a lot of people are like, we want quarterback runs. Like, look at what those quarterback runs did today. He's not that type of runner. He's definitely a guy that can move when things are breaking down, but he's not like a running back at quarterback like some of these guys are in the league. So just to throw that out there, I'm like, okay, can we put that to bed? Can we, like, because everybody was, even people, my friends I talked to, they're like, oh my God, Nagy didn't let him run. Like, bro, Trubisky runs out of a scramble. Trubisky doesn't run like because it's an option, like what a quarterback called run. Like his ability is when he's scrambling. And last year, that was on him not scrambling. Whether it's injury or whatever, he chose not to scramble. You don't call those. You don't say, all right, run this play, but then scramble it. That's up to Trubisky. And so it was always, like, frustrating hearing people complain about that. But anyway, yeah, so we'll get to the film a little more. But overall, just inconsistent. But David Montgomery, obviously a lot of ability, and I think as he continues to understand his vision, he's only going to get better, but clearly our best option. And yeah, as far as defense, I mean, it was it was interesting. It looked like we really had Daniel Jones and everybody scared. And I'm a big fan of Daniel Jones, as people know. But it looked like we had him scared early on, especially when Saquon got hurt, and that they were just going to fumble this game away. No pun intended. But they really played resilient, and it was interesting. They attacked the middle of the field. That's all it is. Like, there was rarely anything happening to the outside, on the perimeter. Mostly everything was to the middle of the field. And not just picking on Trevathan, who I do think is being exposed these last two games, but also safeties as well. And we'll get to the film to see what's what, but you could just look. I mean, I'm sure there's charts out there, whatever, but most of the throws are somewhere, in the box. And so that is a concerning thing. I mean, I would say overall, linebackers in the league are not good. Like, our linebackers, their linebackers, all this chase them around and play coverage, which coverage is important, but linebackers clearly don't know how to play like they have no instincts. Not everybody. There's some good ones, but the thing is, we started to do play action when we weren't even running the ball well, and we started picking up big chunks of yards. Then they start doing the same thing to us, and it's like, bro, you can't tell they're not firing off the ball. I get it. Like, there's all the offense right now is in the league is about putting people in stress, whether that's moving the quarterback into a run pass situation, whether it's an RPO, whatever. And I get all that. But at the same time, there's been a long history of teaching linebackers the instincts to understand when it's play action, when it's an actual run, understanding alignment, firing off versus stepping down. And you could just tell that they don't. Like, the Giants linebackers were sucked up. We were sucked up, and it was just play action where everybody was just feasting. And so linebacker play today was just not good on either side, and that was one of the main concerns. But for the most part, and I'll be interested to see what happens in the run game, but for the most part, with our passing game, I mean, it's the same situation. Robert Quinn showed. Here's the thing. If you watch my All-Pro series, my film breakdown on defense, I always tell you the same thing. The number one thing is motor. Like, people think it's all these different things in the league. The number one thing is motor. And so you look at Robert Quinn, he has a motor that's way better than any of the other guys we have. And the issue is he wasn't on the field the whole time. Like, I get we got a number of bodies, but it's almost like too many bodies. Like, I get rotating, but honestly, if I'm a coach, I'd rather have the same dogs go out there the whole time. Obviously, if they get tired or it's a long drive, we'll do that, or if they're hurt. But for the most part, I want those same consistent guys getting after it. I mean, most defenses, or at least odd fronts, they like to rotate a lot of bodies. I get it, but still, I don't know. It might be a pitch count because we know he's coming off this injury with his ankle. But either way, Robert Quinn wasn't out there most of the time. Most of the time you had Mingo, who is not that good. And then you got, Walters, Gibson sometimes. I don't think we really see him that much this game. But, like, there's nothing on the edge outside of Khalil Mack and Quinn. And Khalil Mack doesn't even bring it all the time. I know they were saying, was it something with his knee or hip? It might have been his knee. But whatever it is, he don't even bring it all the time. But at least he has, that top flight of physical tools. Unlike these other guys that don't have great physical tools and they don't have great motor. But Quinn, really good motor. And then you saw the rookie Andrew Thomas got beat by that little hop thing. And at the end of the day, the ability to bend around the corner, which I said Robert Quinn has been the best I've seen in my whole entire draft career. That's what finished that play for him. And obviously getting a rookie that's not used to that, that was nice. But then after that, it wasn't a whole lot of pressure. I think more of our pressure came from the interior throughout the game than the edge. But that allows Daniel Jones, who is a tough guy, to make some throws that we probably could have shut down. And then in the run game, I'm interested to see, but linebackers, man, that's what it comes down to. I'm not a fan of the eye front. Said it many times. Not just the gap control, but also you get teams like us that expect the D-line to do all the work and then the linebackers to clean up. And then when the D-line doesn't do all the work and the linebackers got to get in there, they get washed out. And that's what happens to Roquan and Trevathan a lot. And, that's just kind of unfortunate. But overall, I guess for defense, I don't know. I give them a B-. It wasn't great, but at the same time, we did really put in work at the first half. So I just think we started to coast after that. But overall, just inconsistent effort. But we came through with the win, which is nice. But a win is not just a win. How you win is important. And it's obvious that against some real top competition, we're going to have to step our game up. So for me, man, this the third year with Nagy. It's just the same consistent things I've seen. So I'm at this point, honestly, I'll just throw this at the end as a bombshell, I guess. I'm ready to see Nick Foles, man. I get it. I get Trubisky again. Like, people act like it's 0 or 100. I'm not saying he doesn't have talent or can't do things for us, but he is clearly a guy that has to have things set up for him to succeed. He's not going to succeed on his own. He's not going to carry the team. He's just going to kind of game manage, really, and make some plays here or there. But Mooney, I think, is really legit. Allen Robinson, we know, is legit. We got a lot of tight ends. Like, I really want to see what we can do with opening up somebody that can distribute this ball in a consistent manner. And so maybe Foles is that, maybe he's not. But at this point, I'm willing to see, because against any top, or not going to say top, but any better competition than what we faced, it's going to be tricky. And so at this point, I'm ready to. Now, of course, people are like, oh, he won 2 games and this, like, yeah, but let's be honest. Let's be civil about this. Look at the games. Look how we played. And I just think our weapons are in prime condition to be utilized. And so that's just me. But anyway, that's it. Go down to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the game. Share it around. Get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, stay up and bear down.